The phone rang as Lily Tucker was elbow-deep in a bucket of burgundy roses, her fingers gently separating the thorny stems. Morning sunlight streamed through the windows of Petal Perfect, illuminating dancing dust motes and creating halos around the vibrant flowers that filled every corner of the small shop. "Could you get that, Lily?" Her boss, Martha, called from the back room where she was preparing an elaborate funeral arrangement. Lily quickly dried her hands on her apron and reached for the phone. "Petal Perfect, how can I brighten your day?" she answered with the shop's signature greeting. "Good morning," a deep male voice responded, the warm timbre sending an inexplicable shiver down Lily's spine. "This is Lucas Iverson's office calling. We need to place another order for Westbrook Financial." Lily smiled, recognizing the caller. The mysterious Mr. Iverson had been ordering flowers for his company's reception area twice weekly for the past 3 months. She'd never spoken to the man himself, only his assistants, but whoever he was, he had excellent taste and wasn't afraid to spend generously on beautiful arrangements. "Of course," Lily replied, reaching for her order pad. "What did you have in mind this time?" "Something spring-like," the assistant said. "Mr. Iverson mentioned he enjoyed the arrangement with the yellow tulips and blue irises from last week. I can certainly create something similar. Would you like me to add some white lilies for contrast? They'd complement the color scheme beautifully." There was a pause, and Lily heard muffled conversation in the background. "Mr. Iverson says that sounds perfect. He also asks if you could deliver them personally this time. He'd like to discuss a large order for an upcoming corporate event." Lily hesitated. She rarely did deliveries herself. That was usually Jimmy's job, their part-time delivery guy, but Martha had been encouraging her to build relationships with their corporate clients. "Sure, I can do that." "Would tomorrow morning around 10 work?" "Perfect. The address is Westbrook Financial, the Skyline Building, 35th floor," Lily finished for him with a smile. "I've got it memorized by now." After finalizing the details, Lily hung up, unaware that on the other end of the line, Lucas Iverson had been listening to the entire conversation, captivated by the warmth in her voice. Lucas set down the phone and turned to his assistant, Peter. "She sounds nice," Peter commented with a knowing smile. Lucas nodded, returning to the financial report on his desk. At 34, he'd built Westbrook Financial from the ground up, turning it into one of the most successful investment firms in the city. His net worth had recently passed the $1 billion mark, a fact that business magazines loved to highlight, but which meant little to him personally. What those magazines didn't report was how lonely success could be. Every woman he'd dated in the past 5 years seemed more interested in his bank account than getting to know the man behind it. He'd grown weary of artificial smiles and calculated interest, which was why he'd started ordering flowers from the small shop 6 blocks away rather than the high-end florist most executives used. There was something authentic about Petal Perfect's arrangements. They had personality, unlike the sterile, identical bouquets the luxury florists provided. And based on the few times he'd spoken to the staff on the phone, they seemed like genuine people. "You know," Peter said, interrupting Lucas's thoughts, "you could have just gone down to the flower shop yourself instead of orchestrating this elaborate delivery scenario." Lucas ran a hand through his dark hair. "I'm not orchestrating anything. We need to discuss the arrangements for the charity gala." Peter raised an eyebrow. "Right, and you couldn't have done that over the phone." "Just schedule the appointment, Peter," Lucas said, turning back to his work, though he couldn't quite suppress a small smile. The next morning, Lily carefully loaded the elaborate arrangement into her car. She'd spent extra time on it, weaving together tulips, irises, and lilies with sprigs of eucalyptus and delicate ferns. Something about knowing she'd be delivering it herself made her want it to be perfect. She arrived at the Skyline Building 15 minutes early, suddenly feeling self-conscious in her simple sundress with a light cardigan. She'd changed out of her usual work clothes, wanting to look professional for meeting with an important client. but now standing in the gleaming marble lobby with executives in tailored suits hurrying past. She wondered if she should have worn something more formal. The receptionist directed her to a private elevator that would take her directly to the 35th floor. When the doors opened, Lily found herself in a stunning reception area with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city. Her flower arrangement from earlier that week sat on a central table, still looking vibrant. "You must be Lily," a friendly-looking man approached her. "I'm Peter, we spoke on the phone. Let me help you with that." He took the heavy arrangement from her arms and led her through the office. Lily couldn't help noticing how everyone they passed looked both intensely focused and surprisingly relaxed. There was none of the frantic energy she'd expected in a high-powered financial firm. "Mr. Iverson is just finishing up a call," Peter explained as they reached a large corner office. "He'll be with you shortly. Can I get you anything?" "Water." "Coffee." "Water would be nice, thank you," Lily replied, taking in the office as Peter departed. Unlike what she'd imagined for a billionaire's workspace, the office was surprisingly welcoming. One wall was lined with books, not just financial texts, but novels, biographies, and what appeared to be poetry collections. Plants thrived on every available surface, explaining the man's appreciation for fresh flowers. And there, on a side table, sat one of her arrangements from 3 weeks ago, preserved in a photography frame. "You preserved it," she said aloud, moving closer to examine the frame. "It was too beautiful to let die." Lily turned at the sound of the deep voice, the same voice she'd heard briefly in the background of yesterday's call. A tall man with broad shoulders stood in the doorway, his dark hair slightly ruffled as if he'd been running his hands through it. He wore no tie with his expertly tailored shirt, and the top button was undone, giving him a more approachable look than she'd expected. "Mr. Iverson," Lily extended her hand, "I'm Lily Tucker from Petal Perfect." He shook her hand, his palm warm against hers. "Please call me Lucas. And I know who you are. Your work is unmistakable. You have a signature style." Lily felt a blush creep into her cheeks. "Thank you. I didn't realize you paid such close attention to the arrangements." "I notice beautiful things," he said simply, then gestured toward the seating area by the window. "Please sit. Let's talk about the charity gala." For the next hour, they discussed flower arrangements for the upcoming event. Lily found herself surprised by how knowledgeable Lucas was about flowers and how specific his vision was for the gala. He didn't just want impressive displays, he wanted arrangements that told a story and created an atmosphere. "The charity supports children's education," he explained. "I want the flowers to reflect growth, possibility, fresh starts, nothing stuffy or conventional." "We could use blooms that symbolize knowledge and growth," Lily suggested. "Irises represent wisdom, and we could incorporate sunflowers for aspiration, reaching toward the light." Lucas's eyes lit up. "That's exactly the kind of thinking I was hoping for." "The other florists I spoke with just suggested the standard roses and lilies in the charity's colors." Lily smiled, relaxing more as their conversation flowed easily from flowers to the charity's work, and eventually to their personal tastes and backgrounds. She found herself telling him about her degree in botany and her dream of eventually owning her own shop. "Why flowers?" he asked. "With a botany degree, you could have gone into research or conservation." Lily considered the question. "Flowers are temporary," she said finally. "They bloom, they're beautiful, and then they're gone. But in that brief time, they can change how someone feels. They can be a comfort during grief, a celebration of joy, an apology, a declaration of love. There's something powerful about creating beauty, knowing it won't last forever. It makes you appreciate it more." Lucas was looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "That's profound," he said quietly. Their conversation was interrupted by Peter, reminding Lucas of his next appointment. "I've kept you too long," Lucas said, standing. "Thank you for coming personally, Lily. You've given me exactly what I was looking for." As Peter showed her out, Lily realized with a start that Lucas had never actually needed to meet with her in person to discuss the gala arrangements. Everything they'd talked about could have been handled over the phone. The thought stayed with her for the rest of the day. Over the next 2 weeks, Lucas called the shop himself to place orders. Each time, he and Lily would talk a little longer, their conversations extending beyond flowers to books they'd read, places they'd visited, and dreams they harbored. Lily found herself looking forward to his calls, even staying late at the shop on days when he usually phoned. "You're sweet on him," Martha observed one afternoon as Lily hummed while arranging exotic blooms Lucas had specifically requested. "I don't even know him," Lily protested. "Honey, you light up like one of those fancy LED arrangements whenever that phone rings and it's him, and he's called every day this week." Lily couldn't deny it. There was something about Lucas that drew her in. He listened when she spoke, really listened, asking insightful questions and remembering details she mentioned in passing. And though he was clearly successful, he never made her feel like her work or dreams were less significant than his. What she didn't know was that Lucas found himself equally captivated. He'd started taking his lunch breaks at a cafe across from Petal Perfect, watching through the window as Lily moved among the flowers, her face animated as she helped customers select the perfect arrangements. He'd catch himself smiling when she laughed, the sound visible even if he couldn't hear it through the glass. "You know this is bordering on stalker behavior," Peter commented one day as they left the cafe. Lucas shook his head. "I'm not stalking her, I'm just—" He trailed off, unable to explain the pull he felt toward the florist. "Smitten," Peter supplied. "Infatuated, acting like a lovesick teenager instead of a billionaire CEO. I'm building a friendship," Lucas defended himself. "It's refreshing to talk to someone who doesn't know about my financial situation." Peter gave him a skeptical look. "And when were you planning to tell her who you really are? Before or after she finds out you've been watching her through windows?" Lucas winced. Peter had a point. While he hadn't exactly lied to Lily, he deliberately kept his full identity ambiguous. She knew he was an executive at Westbrook Financial, but she had no idea he owned the company or the extent of his wealth. The opportunity to come clean presented itself sooner than expected. The charity gala was approaching, and Lily had arranged to visit the venue with Lucas to finalize the flower placement. They walked through the grand ballroom together, Lily making notes and sketches while Lucas pointed out the areas that would see the most traffic. "This space is incredible," Lily said, looking up at the vaulted ceiling. "The children's charity must have some serious donors." Lucas shifted uncomfortably. "About that, there's something I should probably tell you." Before he could continue, the event coordinator rushed over. "Mr. Iverson, I'm so glad you're here. We have a question about the seating chart and the auction items just arrived. Also, the newspaper wants a statement about your donation." Lily looked between them, confusion evident on her face. "Your donation?" The coordinator seemed surprised. "Well, yes. Mr. Iverson is the primary benefactor. Westbrook Financial is covering all the event costs so that every dollar raised goes directly to the children's programs." She checked her watch. "I'll give you a moment, but when you're ready, the press would love a photo of you by the main display." As she hurried away, Lily turned to Lucas, her expression unreadable. "Primary benefactor, just how senior are you at Westbrook?" Lucas ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Lily now recognized as a sign of his discomfort. "I own it," he admitted. "I founded Westbrook Financial 12 years ago." Lily's eyes widened. "You're not just an executive, you're the Lucas Iverson, the billionaire." "I don't really think of myself that way, but yes, technically." Lily took a step back, her mind racing. "All those conversations we had, why didn't you tell me?" "Because the moment people find out, everything changes," Lucas said, frustration evident in his voice. "Suddenly, I'm not just a person anymore. I'm a bank account, a potential investor, a connection to be leveraged. For once, I wanted someone to get to know me first, not my net worth." Lily felt a complex mix of emotions swirling through her. Part of her understood his reasoning, but another part felt foolish and somewhat betrayed. All this time, She'd been chatting casually with one of the wealthiest men in the city, treating him like he was just another client. "I should go," she said finally. "I have enough information for the arrangements. My team and I will be here early on the day of the event to set everything up." "Lily, please." Lucas reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "I need to process this, Lucas. It's a lot to take in." As she walked away, Lucas felt a heaviness in his chest. He'd known this moment would come eventually, but he'd hoped by then she would have gotten to know the real him well enough that his wealth wouldn't matter. For the next week, Lucas called Petal Perfect daily, but each time Martha or Jimmy answered, informing him that Lily was busy. The day of the gala arrived, and Lucas found himself searching the ballroom for a glimpse of auburn hair, but Lily had apparently sent her team to handle the setup while she worked on other orders at the shop. The event was a tremendous success. The floral arrangements were stunning, each one telling a story exactly as Lucas had envisioned. Proof that Lily had understood his vision perfectly despite her personal feelings. The auction raised record amounts for the charity, and Lucas's speech about the importance of educational opportunities for all children received a standing ovation. Yet he felt hollow inside. None of it meant anything without being able to share it with the one person who had made him feel like just a man again, not a balance sheet. After the last guests departed, Lucas lingered in the ballroom, admiring Lily's work. Each arrangement was perfect, thoughtful, meaningful, and executed with obvious care. She hadn't phoned it in, despite her feelings about his deception. "They're beautiful, aren't they?" Lucas spun around to find Lily standing by the entrance, still dressed in the simple black dress she'd worn to supervise the late-night breakdown of the event. "Lily," he breathed her name like a prayer. "You came." She walked toward him, her steps measured. "I couldn't let my team handle this alone. It's too important." "The charity or the flowers?" he asked. "Both." She stopped a few feet away from him. "I've been thinking about why I was so upset." Lucas waited, heart pounding. "At first, I thought it was because you hadn't been honest with me. But then I realized something. You were actually the most honest person I've met in a long time. You showed me who you really are, not the persona people expect." She took another step closer. "I did some research on you this week. Read interviews, watched videos of your speeches. And you know what I found? That the man I got to know over the phone is exactly who you are, thoughtful, passionate about making a difference, surprisingly knowledgeable about flowers." A small smile played at the corners of her mouth. "I never lied about who I am," Lucas said quietly. "Just about what I own. I know that now, and I'm sorry I walked away." She gestured around the room. "This event, what you're doing for these kids, it would be impressive regardless of your wealth. But the fact that you could be doing anything with your time and resources and you choose to do this, that says everything about who you really are." Lucas closed the distance between them, taking her hands in his. "I missed talking to you this week." "I missed you too," Lily admitted. "Which is ridiculous because we've never even had dinner together." "We could fix that right now," Lucas suggested. "I know a place that's still open. The food's nothing fancy, but the company would be exceptional." Lily's smile widened. "I'd like that." They walked out together, leaving behind the glamour of the ballroom for a small 24-hour diner where they sat in a corner booth until sunrise, talking as if making up for the week they'd lost. In the weeks that followed, Lucas and Lily's relationship blossomed like the flowers she so lovingly arranged. He became a regular visitor to Petal Perfect, often bringing lunch and sitting with Lily in the small workroom at the back of the shop while she created arrangements. Sometimes he would roll up his sleeves and help, his large hands surprisingly gentle with the delicate blooms. For her part, Lily discovered that Lucas's wealth, while substantial, was the least interesting thing about him. She was more captivated by his passion for education reform, his devotion to his aging grandfather who had raised him, and the fact that despite his success, he still carried the pocket watch his father had given him before passing away when Lucas was just 10 years old. 3 months after the gala, Lucas invited Lily to dinner at his home, a penthouse apartment with breathtaking views but surprisingly modest furnishings for a man of his wealth. "I was expecting something more ostentatious," Lily commented as he gave her a tour. Lucas shrugged. "I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment with my grandfather. Too much space feels wasteful to me." He paused by a wall of windows. "Though I admit I paid extra for the views, I find them inspiring." As they ate dinner on his balcony, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors Lily could have spent hours trying to replicate in her arrangements, Lucas seemed uncharacteristically nervous. "Is everything okay?" Lily asked, reaching across the table to touch his hand. Lucas took a deep breath. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said the day we met about flowers being temporary, but still having the power to change how someone feels." Lily nodded, remembering. "I've realized that some of the most beautiful things in life are like that. They exist in moments: a sunset, a piece of music, the way someone looks at you when they think you don't notice." He squeezed her hand. "But just because something is temporary doesn't mean it can't last forever in a different form." From his pocket, he produced a small box. Inside was a pendant, a perfect lily flower, crafted in gold with delicate diamond details. "Lucas," Lily whispered, touching the necklace gently. "I'm not rushing anything," he assured her quickly. "I just wanted you to know that you've changed how I feel about everything. Before you, I was just going through the motions. Success had become routine, meaningless. You made me see beauty again in the everyday things I'd stopped noticing." Lily felt tears gathering in her eyes. "You've changed things for me too. I've always loved what I do, but now I see possibilities I hadn't let myself imagine before, not because of your money," she added firmly, "but because of how you believe in dreams, in making things happen." Lucas stood and moved around the table, taking the necklace from the box and fastening it around her neck. His fingers lingered on her skin. "May I kiss you, Lily Tucker?" Her answer was to rise up on her toes, pressing her lips to his in a kiss that felt like coming home. 6 months later, Lily stood in her new shop, a beautiful corner building with large windows that flooded the space with natural light. "Bloom and Grow," read the hand-painted sign above the door. The name she and Lucas had decided on together over a bottle of wine and pages of increasingly ridiculous suggestions. Lucas had offered to finance the entire venture, but Lily had insisted on taking only a reasonable loan with proper terms. "I need to build this myself," she told him, "with my own hands, just like you did with Westbrook." He'd understood immediately, helping her find the perfect location but stepping back to let her create her vision. Now, as she arranged displays for the grand opening scheduled for the next day, Lucas arrived with lunch. "It's perfect," he said, looking around at what she'd created. "Exactly how you described it would be." The shop was an extension of Lily herself, warm, inviting, with unusual combinations that somehow worked beautifully together. Unlike Petal Perfect's traditional approach, Bloom and Grow featured sustainable practices, educational workshops, and a section dedicated to plants that supported local pollinators. "I couldn't have done it without you," Lily said, accepting the sandwich he offered. "Yes, you could have," Lucas countered. "It might have taken longer, but you would have gotten here. You're the most determined person I know." They ate together at the small table in what would be the consultation area, discussing plans for the opening. "Before I forget," Lucas said, reaching into his jacket pocket, "this came for you." He handed her an envelope with the shop's name beautifully calligraphed on the front. Lily opened it, finding an invitation inside. "A charity ball for the botanical gardens. That's next month." Lucas nodded. "They're raising funds for their educational program. I thought you might want to provide the flowers. It could be good exposure for the new shop." Lily smiled, recognizing his subtle way of helping without overstepping. "I'd love to, but only if you're my date." "Always," he promised. When he left to return to work, Lily continued setting up displays, humming contentedly. Her phone rang, the shop's new line being tested for the first time. "Bloom and Grow," she answered. "How can we help you grow something beautiful today?" "Is this Lily Tucker?" an unfamiliar voice asked. "Yes, it is. How can I help you?" "This is Samantha Wilson from City Magazine. We're doing a feature on power couples in the business world, and we'd love to include you and Lucas Iverson. The billionaire CEO and the florist who captured his heart. It's quite the story." Lily couldn't help but laugh. "I'm flattered, but I think you have it wrong. I didn't capture anyone's heart with some grand scheme. We just found each other. Two people who connected over flowers and conversation." "But surely being with one of the city's most eligible bachelors has changed your life dramatically." Lily looked around her shop, her dream coming to life through her own hard work, supported but not overshadowed by Lucas's resources. "My life has changed because I fell in love with a kind, thoughtful man who happens to be very successful. But he would be the same person I love even without the billions." After finishing the call with the somewhat disappointed journalist, Lily went to the workroom and began creating a special arrangement: blue irises, yellow tulips, and white lilies, just like the first arrangement she'd personally delivered to Lucas's office. That evening, when he came to pick her up for dinner, she presented it to him. "What's this for?" he asked, clearly touched. "For being the regular caller who became the most important person in my life," she said simply. Lucas set the flowers down carefully and pulled her into his arms. "I called ordering flowers the best business decision I ever made. Turns out it was the best personal one, too." As they left the shop together, Lily turned to lock up, pausing to look at her name on the door. From a small florist answering phones at someone else's shop to a business owner pursuing her dreams with a partner who valued her for exactly who she was. Not bad for a year that started with a regular phone order from a billionaire who'd fall fast. Lucas squeezed her hand. "Ready to go home?" Lily nodded, knowing that home wasn't just a place anymore. It was wherever they were together, building something beautiful that, unlike flowers, wouldn't fade with time.